Hello and happy Thursday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. Another episode of On the Wrong Lead Live, where we go ahead and handicap all the big stakes racing this weekend, and we got some interesting races this weekend. We got some racing at Colonial Downs. We'll be doing covering a little pick five there, all stakes pick five races 7 through 11 at Colonial Downs with the aforementioned Arlington Million, RIP Arlington. But we will also be covering a couple stakes races at Saratoga, and one man who I think probably could use a break from Saratoga, Mr. Mark Capitan.
What do I need a break from Saratoga for?
You seemed a little down when you came on the stream, dude. You seemed
I was a little down. Our resident Bill Mott whisperer did not tell me that the Bill Mott horse was going to boom me in the late pick five, and then that cost me a pretty good chunk of change. But no, I mean Saratoga was good today. I've been seeing the ball pretty well. I like this card when I capped it a couple of days ago. Mentioned it in chat, and it was a nice card today. So I had a good one, and but excited to talk about the sequence this weekend. I think the Saratoga. Tends to be a little bit of a down weekend at Saratoga. You get this sort of gap. This used to be the 4-star Dave weekend, but all the jocks would leave town and fly out to Arlington. And that's not the case anymore. But still a couple of the Saratoga jocks are out of town. The bigger names, a little bit of a lighter card. But still some really good Saratoga stuff. But this Colonial sequence is really good. So made a little executive decision that we'd hop over, talk a little bit of little Colonial, which is obviously very nice track, fun to play. I like playing the big days down there. I think their day-to-day product sometimes is kind of some of the Midwest or Mid-Atlantic garbage, but their weekends and their big days are really good. So fun little sequence.
Nice. And Mr. Caleb Knight, the man who suggested we look at Arlington or Colonial Downs this weekend. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm wishing that I looked at Colonial Downs before I suggested that, but
oh no.
It's a good sequence. It is a good all stakes pick five. Field sizes seem okay. I think we will get quite a few scratches, most likely, but the races they seem good. It's a sequence I really struggled with. A lot of the reason I don't play these, Colonial, Laurel, Pimlico type is, to me, I just find that every horse looks the same. So I kind of ran into that in some of the listed stakes races on the earlier part of the pick five. I really struggled to get a handle on. So I look forward to some very insightful wisdom from my two colleagues here.
I don't agree with any of that.
No, I occasionally have a nugget or two at Saratoga, but outside that, no, not so much.
We can get Mike on.
Yeah, that was probably the play, huh?
Yeah,
that was the play. Yeah.
Yeah. So why don't we go ahead and I got Saratoga pulled up over here. Just give me 1 second. But I think we'll start with the Saratoga Stakes races here. We got two solid races over here in the Saratoga Oaks and the Sword Dancer. So I got our Timeform USPPs pulled up here. And obviously provided to us by the lovely people over at DRF. Check out their chat bot at chat.drf.com. Try and break it, please. They would love any kind of feedback on it. I know Matt is, our friend Matt from You've Got to Be Shot-Tinning Me is trying to feed it all kinds of info. And he's having fun messing around with it. But race 9 here on Saratoga Saturday. Grade 2 Saratoga Oaks Invitational here. For 3-year-old fillies, we're going to be going 1 mile and 3/16 on the turf. And this is on the Mellon turf course here. And your morning line favorite is the 6th Laurelin here for Mr. Motion and Kendrick Caramouche here. They are at 9-5. Opulent Restraint is at 2-1. And then you kind of just got, mid prices here. But it looks to be a fairly competitive field. But Mark, I'll let you get started here as the Saratoga local. Where did you kind of land here?
Yeah, I think you sort of have to start off by deciding what you're going to do. The two short-priced American horses in Opulent Restraint and Laurelin, and to me, I think they're going to be much closer in morning line than they are necessarily in their chances of winning the race. I think Laurelin has kind of answered the question and is much the horse to beat, of the American contingents in this race. And it's sort of proved that at least in April at the Down the Duck, she was a better horse than Opulent Restraint. Even in that effort, she did have some, she didn't have the nicest trip in that race, and she still was able to overcome it and get everything, get it done. Yes, she is stretching out to the longest test of her career, where Opulent Restraint has gone a little bit further. But I think Laurelin just much the horse to beat in this race. And as I alluded to, the sort of American contingent, the other horse that I'm interested in, and I didn't really even realize this horse was in Miguel Clement's barn, is the 3-horse Go-Go Boots. And we always see this thing where if you look at some of these Euros when they ship over, they always look a little bit light on figs, but you probably add, let's say 10-ish points to those figs that she ran overseas, and all of a sudden she's a pretty major player, and that's normally, I think, the convert factor, 10-ish points. You see them take that sort of step forward when they come over with Euro time form come to the US. Nice to see Jose Ortiz taking the mount, and I think she's going to be a pretty another kind of pretty interesting player in this field, but I think after that, it sort of really falls off. So I need the 3 and the 6 in here, and I don't really probably need anybody else. So, but interested to see. I'm sure Caleb has some contrarian opinion to my stupidness that just came out of my mouth.
Thanks, Robot Mark. Caleb, what do you think?
I didn't know when Mark got a voice changer, but that was interesting. So, yeah, I guess even the robot voice changer doesn't change Mark's opinion of ending on the 3 to 5 or whatever he's going to be, 9 to 5 favorite Laurelin. Listen, I don't like this race. I actually have zero interest in this race. Laurelin's probably your most likely winner. I hate betting undefeated horses, especially ones that have been managed kind of like she has been. I mean, she broke her maiden as a shocker somewhat at 5-1. She won the Tepin at 4-1, 9-2. Came back and won the the Memories of Silver. What is that? Memories of Silver Stakes. Again, not favored again, and then finally went and won the Tomato Can Derby at Penn National over a swampy bog of a turf course. Listen, she's a winner. She likes to win. She's fast enough on paper. I just don't really think she's the kind of horse I want to take at 8 to 5 or 7 to 5 or whatever she's going to be in this race. I'm just a little bit skeptical that she's really a grade 2 quality filly given the way she's been managed through her career so far. I have even less interest probably in the number 1, the Opulent Restraint. I just don't believe the last figure. On time form, that race came back extremely fast. But that weekend, Saratoga, the turf course, was playing extremely fast on July 5th. We saw a ton of really fast times. I'm pretty sure Fionn broke the track record that day in the Belmont Oaks. And honestly, I would assume Nitrogen and possibly also Opulent Restraint also broke the track record, considering they all finished basically within a length of each other. I'm just always skeptical of, when you see something come back that fast. The Brisnet fig's not that quick. I didn't look at the buyer or Thoroughgraph yet. So I'm just a little skeptical she can see out the distance here, after having a pretty clean trip last time and still getting run down loose in the lead. So my opinion here is more of a game theory approach, and that I just don't like the short prices. I don't really like anybody else, but I will begrudgingly land on Go-Go Boots, who Mark did talk about. There's an argument to be made. She's better on the synthetic than she is on the turf. I mean, I think that's pretty easy, but I also think that a lot of it is just the level of competition she was facing, essentially going up against, maidens and allowance type horses on the lesser circuit on the all weather, and then moving exclusively into, graded company, and, group 1, 2s and 3 races when she got onto the turf. The distance shouldn't be any problem for her here. I mean, I don't know if this is a permanent acquisition for Clement or if it's just godsend sending this horse over for a race. But regardless, I mean, she's been facing tons better in Europe than she finds here. I think she found a soft enough spot that she may look a touch slow on paper, but she would be my top pick in here. Getting some class relief and just being a little bit skeptical of the 2 short prices in the 1 and the 6.
Yeah, I guess I split the difference between you guys. So I'm also on the 3. I like Go-Go Boots in the spot. Is the only, I believe it's the only horse in the field to have run this long or longer. And I mean, ran fine in 2 of those starts at York and Ascot. I don't think finishing 4th by a couple lengths there at Ascot is anything to really hang your head in shame against, especially when coming against this group here. I think of the 2 horses, of the 2 short price American horses, I prefer the 1, Opulent Restraint. Call it, unfortunately, I just reformatted my computer, so no alerts today. So
Wow.
maybe it's the Flavian Pratt simp in me again, but
That sounds like a
um,
likely excuse, kind of a thing, right?
I'm
Like,
gonna
like,
choose. I'm gonna
oh,
choose
I
to
can't, I
believe
can't
the
call myself a
last.
simp. Aw.
I'm gonna choose to believe the last figure here, which is the fastest figure in the field. So I'll take the 1 and the 3 in this spot. And yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and fade the 6 here. And see if we get past. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the 1 ends up going off favored, or even if the 3 goes off favored, because the 3 was the 3 purchased by Bobby Flay, or has it always been owned by Bobby Flay? Because I know that's who owns it, but I don't know if he owned the horse running it overseas or not. So
I don't know about that.
you know,
I don't know about that either.
so anything else in this race you guys want to talk about?
No, not. I mean, the only horse I wanted to like. Did anyone give a look to the 5? Because I mean, if you like the 1, or you think or if you like Fion, for that matter, who beat Nitrogen. I mean, this horse just missed 2 back against Fion, and then the Belmont Oaks was. I mean, was that regret? Was the regret the figure that doesn't really fit, or was the Belmont Oaks too bad to be real? I mean, I didn't really know. There's not much speed in the race. I mean, if Manny does get aggressive, I thought there was a chance, but I wasn't really sure. Did either of you 2 give her a look?
Yeah, I think the regret was I remember the 2 of us talking about that figure and saying that all those figures came back way too fast in that race. So my take was that just the regret figure was bad and that she's more a horse that's 10 points too slow. But if you think that regret fig is legit, then yeah, she's playable. But I just don't agree with that take.
Yeah, I forget if it was in the Belmont Oaks that I like this horse, or if it was in the Regret, but I know I've tried to use this horse, previously, and yeah, I mean, it's tough to say that Regret figure though is bad if Fion came back to basically run an even faster figure. So now, are you just assuming both the figures are bad? So I don't know. Maybe it's a believable figure, but that was a pretty big regression for Totally Justified. But I think maybe the pace scenario is going to be a little bit different here in this spot. Less horses, maybe not as much speed. I know Timeform's got those fractions coded red, but I don't know how fast those paces necessarily were both those days. So maybe we see an improvement with not non-red fractions first up. I'm not really sure. Anything else here? Nope. Cool. We went to the Sword Dancer. We're going to be going 1.5 miles on the inner turf. Grade 1 race here. Your morning line favorite is the 6 Far Bridge at 9-5. Probably on Caleb's the new the horse that Caleb's going to basically probably try to beat every single time out in here. And then it gets a little wide open. I mean, you get Nation's Pride coming in at 3-1, El Cordobas at 4-1, first time in for Chucky Apples. And then Red Rebel at 8-1, Utah Beach at 8-1, Grand Sonata at 10-1. You get your price on basically anybody else. So in true I hate turf route fashion, Caleb, this is your race. Where did you land here?
Yeah, this is going to be a shock to you, but I think Farbridge is an easy single in this race. This is what he wants to do. He won this race last year. He's been very, very good this year. Rosario has been clicking pretty well so far at the Saratoga meet. I mean, he's a neck away from being undefeated in 4 starts this year, and that neck defeat looks a lot better when you realize that it was A, at the wrong distance, and that B, deterministic, came back to win the big grade 1 last weekend in the what was the race, Mark? Not the Manhattan, whatever the
4-star Dave.
The 4-star Dave, yeah, at a mile. So yeah, I mean, I just think that this is his distance, this is his track, this is his trip, and the competition is not good. This is not a grade 1, with the exception of Farbridge. This is not a grade 1 field. I mean, if you get your time machine out, I guess there's a version of Nation's Pride that might be a grade 1 horse, but I don't think it's the version that we've seen recently. And beyond that, I mean, these are mostly also rans and listed stakes winners. I mean, yes, technically El Cordobas did get a Group 2 win at Newmarket last out. That was a pretty soft Group 2. It was a 4-horse field. I think that's a pretty dressed up win right there. I think he's probably more of a Group 3 type of a horse here. William Buick does elect to ride Nation's Pride, who I don't think a whole lot of in the spot to begin with. So to me, it's a bad field. I think that Farbridge is just much the best in here. And if I can get something around 2-1, I mean, he's an easy single for me.
Mark?
Well, I hate how much I agree with Caleb in here, but I think Farbridge is much the horse to beat. I think Nation's Pride is an absolute takeout reducer. If this was 2 years ago or even last summer, Nation's Pride would be much more interesting, but he's just had way too many, very off, hard to excuse efforts. He basically won, since then, the only thing he's done is won a glorified allowance race in Maidan that somehow is a Group 2. He's absolutely fallen off a cliff. I do agree with you that, I think this field is a little bit suspect, but I think the field is suspect more in the fact of the distance we're going and less from the fact of, whatever the lack of horses. If this was a 1.25 miles, there'd be a lot better quality field here. Now, El Cordobes, the one, I'm probably a little more high on that horse than you are, Caleb. Just from the fact that I think of the Chucky Apples horses, that's the one you want, and that seems to be the one that's taking the small steps forward, getting a little bit better every time out. Kind of an improving, pattern if you cross off that York race, and maybe come the next Nation's Pride, even though you're seeing Nation's Pride probably ends up shorter price than that one does. But the one horse we haven't mentioned that I really like in here quite a bit is way on the outside, and that's Utah Beach. I think if there's a horse that's going to upset Farbridge, it's probably somebody like a Utah Beach. Went this trip twice earlier in the season, won both the Elkhorn and the Louisville, and then I think you can just kind of draw a line through that last out effort. I've been told that Vinny Off is the biggest improvement angle in horse racing, so you're getting a pretty not true.
We ran the numbers, not true.
Damn it. Okay. But you're going to Jose Ortiz up, who is a pretty darn solid jock in his own right. And this seems to be a horse that's trending in the right direction, kind of getting better every start. 4-7 lifetime, going this trip. So this is what this one wants to do. Seems to be in really good form, and I think if you force my hand, I'll take the new face in the division in Utah Beach to upset Farbridge.
Boys, we might be live here. Hold on. Where is it?
Was Charlestown running?
No.
I think Josh was trying to get the soundboard up before all the.
Oh, damn it! Yeah, I did. You know what? I forgot. I forgot. You know what? I also need. I need to get my stupid virtualization stuff working. That sucks. Anyways, yeah. So David Barissa, he's already chimed in. He said speed kills on the inner turf. Will Appleby be on or near the lead? And Brandon also mentioning Appleby's running these horses here to get second. Farbridge in the Manhattan was terrible and still only lost by a neck. What were you saying, Mark? You don't think that either of these horses are going to be?
Well, no. He was saying speed kills. I thought he was implying that speed was bad on the inner, but yeah. Sorry, I misunderstood that. I realized.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, do you think either the 1 or the 5 kind of press the pace here?
No, I think Nation's Pride impresses the pace. I mean, he's the one that can go. I don't know if they necessarily do go with him. I mean, there was a version of him that could go to the front end and wire this. I just don't know if that's the version you have anymore. It seems like the last couple times out, he's really wanted to sit more of a pocket trip. Farbridge has enough speed; he could go. Like, I don't know who gets sent of the. I would imagine one of the Buick horses probably gets set to set the other one up. I just don't know which one that is.
PDT.
Remember when we thought that, and it was like I forget, like New Century, and so like two other Buick horses, and like
you'd assume one way. You're right. Neither one of them.
Yeah.
Did. Yeah.
And then they both get wired by. That might have actually been Master of Time and Silver Knot, and they both get wired by.
Was that who it was?
By
Farbridge,
at the time when Farbridge didn't have any speed. So in this race last year,
before Nation's Pride was used to set up Silver Knot, wasn't it? Like, wasn't it the other way around or something? I don't know. Yeah, I guess I'm not as down on Nation's Pride as you guys are. I was gonna try and get around Farbridge, but then I mean, I don't know, man. I guess I split the difference with you guys. I really like the 9 Utah Beach because I am a time form simp. Do I have that button? No, I don't. And I mean, this is a horse that's consistently run in the 120s. On time form, and I kind of feel like that's about where you're gonna need to be, I think, to win this race. My only question is if there's gonna be enough pace for Jose to kind of get this horse going. Obviously, Nacho Correas just announced recently that he is going to be retiring, going back to Argentina. He's given up training, so maybe this is like his one last hurrah here to try and get a grade 1 win here, another grade 1 win. Mark, you already said that he had a horse of a lifetime, and we were talking about different horses.
Different horses, yeah. I did forget one. He's had 2 horses of a lifetime. I just only remembered the one. You implying Utah Beach is the third?
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, dude, Bob Baffer has a horse of a lifetime 4 or 5 times a year. So
I don't know. Then maybe not this year.
I mean, Nacho's a good guy. He's allowed to have a couple of those.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I basically think that between the 5, 6, and 9, I mean, I think that covers anybody who's going to win this one. I mean, I think Farbridge. Honestly, I think last race, at least tells me the way that he ran last race that Rosario knows he needs to get this horse involved early. Right, and not completely just lose contact, right? And I mean, he has been pretty forward with this horse, but I just think that the last couple times that he's been able to, he's just got to stay connected to the pack here, right? We just need to not get the Naira Special, because I think if there is a horse that could Naira Special, I think maybe the 5 could go out there and maybe kind of wire this thing. But I don't know. The last time we saw this horse kind of really press the pace was probably going back to the Man of War last year, right? And like you guys said, I think Nation's Pride is probably a different horse at this point. So I guess I agree with Caleb that Farbridge is obviously the most likely winner, but I will have some Nation's Pride in Utah Beach, other places. Anything else here in this race?
Do we know where Grand Sonata is going to run, if he's running here or at Colonial?
I do not know, but let me look at.
They're going to run him at Colonial because he's got no shot in hell here.
Let's take a look.
Yeah, just curious. I mean, tangent point a bit, but it's like Saratoga moved 4-star Dave to avoid the jocks going out of town for the Arlington Million, and instead ran a race that's very, very, very similar to the Arlington Million for less purse money. I think that's why you're getting kind of a lousy field here in the Sword Dancer, is that historically this is run on Travers weekend, I think. Is that right, Mark?
Yeah, sounds right.
Yeah, I think it's normally run on Travers undercard, and now you're running it on top of the Arlington Million. It's the Jim Dandy all over again. So it's the Curlin and Jim Dandy all over again. So it's like, I mean, it's no shock this field came up soft because you have, 2 different races that fill the same niche for the most part.
PET says Colonial. Yeah. Honestly, I'm actually kind of surprised that Nation's Pride isn't running in the Million since he won it last year. I'm kind of it's kind of weird that he's not running there where he's had success and they're running him here.
Much less with a second Godolphin who isn't without chance in this race. I mean, there's a world where Godolphin wins both of those races if they split their entries, right?
Yep.
It's just an easier ship.
You see, that's part of my thing, right? Is like I was always told that the reason why so many international horses always ship to Arlington was because Chicago Airport is one of the like poster like easy to ship into. Has got the quarantine barn right there, and then you're just shipping over. Arlington Park to O'Hare is like half hour. Like it's a real, not even maybe in some days, super easy to just ship in there and go. And I think getting down to Colonial is just a little bit tougher. So,
I mean, they fly into JFK, and there's a quarantine barn for large animals there. So then it's just it's just a van up. Now, it's not a huge difference vanning to Saratoga versus vanning to Colonial, but it might just be a situation of you have connections that want to go one race, and you say, oh, well, we'll just ship them both because we don't have to have a second team to be there for one race and all the extra people. So.
I do love that Brandon is just giving PDT the business and saying he thinks that Lexingtonian's in this race, which I love. I don't know. I think this race is a little bit more wide open than Caleb said, but I do think that Farbridge is the best horse in this race. So
you're kind of taking the Mark approach to this race.
I think I am, because I also landed on Mark's price in Utah Beach, right? So I'm taking the fastest time form fig, I'm taking the chalk, and then I'm betting the washed up Euro. Yeah. So I think, yeah. Is there a sprint race? Can I bet Go Bears Go somewhere? Oh, wait till you see who I have in the sprint at Colonial. So we got some throwbacks there. Anything else on this race? Now, Mark, I know you've handicapped the card. How's the rest of the card look? I haven't looked at anything about these two races for Saratoga. Tonight, I will be recording with Andrew Champagne. We're going to cover race 11 and 12. We'll go a little bit more in depth, I think, on race 9 and 10. But we're going to cover the late pick 4 here at Saratoga. But anything else on this card that stuck out to you?
No, it's a good card. There's a lot of spots where you can have some opinions and take some shots. Yeah, I mean, it's a good card, but as Saratoga Saturday cards go, it's kind of a B tier Saratoga Saturday card. Let's call it that. And by the way, PDT, you're going into timeout for that one.
No, he's not. All right. Let's switch over to the other.
By the way, if Coppola is scratching and No Balls is scratching, there's gonna be what, like 3 horses in that race?
Oh wait, is No Balls scratching?
This crap? I mean, I don't know confirmed, but Mike would probably be able to say a little bit more. But there's a lot of, I mean, we can talk about when we get to it. But a lot of horses that ran like 3 days ago at Ellis, you'd have to think
that field's going to scratch.
Yeah, they're probably going to scratch out, you would think.
All right. Well, race 7 here, Colonial Downs, is going to start the all stakes pick 5. So there's an all stakes pick 5. There's an all stakes pick 4 here. So
and by the way, no, we're not all idiots. Well, I was an idiot. Like normal tracks would start the pick 5. The late pick 5 would be the last 5 races. That's kind of logically how you do it. Not Colonial. They're special down there.
I mean, we've said this before though, haven't we, Caleb? Where they'll have these like big cards with a bunch of stakes races lined up next to each other, and then you're like, okay, I can't play all 5 of them, but I can play 4 of them in one sequence and like 2 of them in another. So I don't mind that they're kind of switching it up here to get all stakes in one sequence. Anyways, race 7 here. We're gonna be going 5.5 furlongs on the turf, and your morning line favorite in this race is going to be the 2 Mrs. Gambolini here for Safi Joseph and Tyler Gaffleone. I kind of looked at this race, and I just think that I think the 2 is the 2 looks like probably the most likely winner in this spot for me. Now it is a little tough because this is a horse that has had most of its success at Gulfstream Park. But we've talked about this before, where if it's not Travers Day, and even if it is Travers Day, but these kind of like, I don't want to say like B tier days, but let's just say not S tier days, right? Not Travers Day, not Kentucky Derby Day, right? Not these real big, big days like that. Savvy Joseph has got to be like one of just like a guy who just like cleans up on these types of days and these types of races. I mean, Caleb, what was the card we were talking about where like Safi won like 3 races on the undercard, right? It's like a big day.
That was
and
last week, I think. That was the 4-star Dave, and yeah, the 4-star Dave card. Maybe it was either that or Whitney. I forget which one. Or no, that's the same card. So yeah.
Yeah. So whenever he ships horses to these kinds of days, I just always assume he's live. He gets Tyler for this race. He's going to be kind of tactical speed in this race. So not really a horse that needs the lead, but we'll take it if he gets it. And I just think that he's going to be kind of tough to beat in this spot. And that was my lone A in here. Because the five obviously makes some sense in here. Obviously it seems like when he's gotten into stakes company has not run necessarily his best races. But I think figures wise, he kind of matches up. And then I think kind of once you get past the 5, I think a lot of the other horses kind of start looking all the same to me. So I'm kind of just like taking a stand here. I'm just going to single the 2, Mrs. Gambolini. Mark, where did you land here?
I had a really hard time with this race because I don't like Mrs. Gambolini in this one. This is a horse coming out of a bunch of Gulfstream Park, super, firm packed turf races, and gonna catch some Virginia turf. It's got quite a bit more cut in it, and I really wonder if this one can stretch out. And I realize stretching out means an extra half furlong. I get it, but there's a lot of times that some of these speed balls just really they hit that 5. Well, we're going to talk about Coppola later. So horses that hit that 5.5 or 5 to 5.5 furlong brick wall and they stop. And I just really wonder if if Mrs. Gambolini is one of those horses. So I really wanted to get super deep in here, and I wanted to find some horses that had some local form as well. So first off, somebody like the 4 Bana Durum, the Miguel
Band on the Run.
Is that what it is? Is that where they got that?
Band on a Run, but I think the song is Band on the Run. But
it's on the run, right? Not on a run. Anyways. If you've been watching Saratoga, Miguel Clement has been having himself one hell of a meet. Everything he's sending out is running really well. And this one should be actually, I really kind of wonder if this isn't a little bit of class relief off some of those Keeneland races, to tell you the truth. And so I thought this one was super interesting, and at least I know can get the distance. And then I also thought, you're going to need your soundboard, Josh. The 8 for Rohan Crichton, Cart Girl Sam, was also kind of interesting. Another horse coming out of, we've seen everything shipping out of Churchill being super live. This one has put up a couple figs in a row that fit very well with some of this field. Getting Julian off, which is always an improvement angle. So I thought this 8 was super interesting in here as well. I'm not going to go crazy. I have 3 more that I liked in here. Caleb, what do you think of this race? Because I just thought this was just super spready, and you can go a lot of different directions.
Yeah, I could buy this race, honestly. I like that your 8's actually my top pick. I'm hoping that they have a lot of pudding cups in Virginia so that JJ can figure out how to maybe get a win. I think he's 1 for 40 something at Saratoga, and the 1 win was on like a 1-5 mortal lock. Current favorite for the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. Bring the band back or something like that. Just like unbelievable how poorly he's riding at Saratoga after riding really well there last year. Don't know what's going on with him. But you got to think he's a more aggressive rider than Julian. He probably gets good position. He's got a nice post here. And the horse is coming out of some pretty fast races. So I do like Cart Girl Sam. I didn't know what to do with Mrs. Gambolini. The numbers are fine. Safi, Tyler, I mean, the stats and bells and whistles all are there for this horse. I'm a little bothered by the fact that she was beaten twice in a row at odds on favoritism. I mean, she runs second in a 4-horse field, runs second in a 6-horse field at, 2 to 5 and 3 to 5. I'm just a little bit, suspect. She's also not really improving. If you look at the time form figs, I mean, she's pretty much topped out in her last 4 starts. And those figures are good enough or nearly good enough to win. But I'm just, for a horse this slightly raced and only 4-year-old filly, I'd like to see a little more progression, and I just haven't seen it. So she's one that as the likely favorite, I mean, I'm not totally enamored with. But honestly, I could go a bunch of different ways in here. I mean, I thought that the number 5 that Josh mentioned, Crown Imperial, kind of fits the race, was up against a bit of a slower pace last time when she disappointed as the odds-on favorite as well. She's also, had her share of burning some money. But, Luna Loska is a pretty nice sprinter. I mean, she's won a couple of races now and does them all gate to wire. So I thought that, if you kind of look at the way that race set up with BG Warrior, basically running in place towards the front, Luna Lauska wiring that field. Crown Imperial was the only horse that kind of made up some ground there. So I thought that, kind of being against the flow of the race might have a bit of an excuse for that one there. But in general, yeah, I don't have anything clever here. I'll be very spread. There's probably a couple of horses that, like the 10 horse, who'd be a pretty big surprise if they find a way to get into the winner's circle. But even some of these 20 to 1s or, 10 to 1s, I think, like you look at a horse like A Girl of My Dreams. And I mean, this is a horse that has speed and, isn't that slow, compared to some others. I mean, that Keeneland race is a bit slow, but the Presque Isle races kind of fit. You look at Bozarati out to the outside. I mean, that horse is only about 4 to 5 points too slow. So with the right trip on the right day, the horse likes to win, could probably get the job done. So yeah, a lot of ways you could go here. I have no real high confidence opinion.
Yeah, lots. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to ask you, Caleb, what price do we actually get on Bosserati? Because it's not 20 to 1. Do I get 10 to 1 on that horse? Maybe.
In Saratoga, definitely, but I don't know how much money like a Brittany Russell horse will command at this like Mid-Atlantic track. So, I mean, the horse has been basically less than 5 to 1 in every start, with the exception of the Fairgrounds race. My guess is she's probably 8 to 1, maybe 10, but not 20. You're right.
I'm curious. I haven't looked at the buyers yet on this in this field, because like sometimes like with time form, like you get these kinds of races where like all the horses kind of clump up a little bit. I mean, if you look at just like the highlight figs for this this race, I mean, outside the 10 is ran a 97, right? But you forget about the 10. All the highlight figs are between a 108 and a 110. Literally 9 horses, all between a 108 and a 110. So I'm kind of curious. And like I said, it's the first time I've actually flipped over to the buyer to see how.
They're similarly flat. I mean, not
you think
as
so? I mean, the
flat.
2.
I do.
I'm glancing through now. The 2 stands out more.
The 2 stands out.
Arguably the 7 or the 5 is not, as much of a player as he is on time form. You could argue the same thing with the 1. The 7 becomes a bit more interesting, maybe, who we didn't even talk about, but
yeah.
I mean, the 4 and the 9. No, the 4 ran an 88, so that puts that horse right there as well.
If you're looking at the buyers, I can see why maybe Bozarati's 20 to 1.
Oh yeah. But yeah, it's interesting. Okay. Like sometimes, like I said, sometimes you look at these races and when they get kind of flat, like you kind of gotta, figure out a way to kind of differentiate. I think I kind of took your kind of a game theory thing, right? Where if I think it's a spread race, you guys both see it as a spread race. Well, I'm going to try and be as narrow as possible. I mean, maybe I'm taking the easy way out by just singling the chalk, but we'll kind of see how that goes. But lots of comments in the chat we got to get to here. Marco Lou, he's agreeing with you guys. He thinks it's a spread race. So he's going to be spreading here. CB for you to wins, mentioning that they were off the turf today. There were 3 days of raining, and he thinks it's raining all day tomorrow. He doubts they're going to be on the turf, but I mean, if you're not going to run on the turf on this day, like, I mean, why even card these races? Like,
I mean, there's only there's a 16% chance of rain tomorrow. They're calling for mid 70s. It's sunny. I think there's going to be any problem with it drying out by Saturday. But I've been wrong before.
I don't know what PDT's talking about. Cut Colonial as a fairway. This ain't Keeneland. Oh, now they're talking about grass types. Oh goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know, man. That's getting way too deep for me.
I don't think anybody who plays CDI track should be allowed to talk about grass in general.
I don't know. I love that. CB through the Wednesday, 50% all day. You're looking at the wrong forecast.
No, I'm not. I'm looking at the right forecast.
And yeah, Marco's talking about the next race, how half the field's scratching in the morning line. Like we'll be talking about that.
We'll be talking about it, bud. Trust us. We were equally. Yeah.
Oh man, Nick is coming in hot. He says the Colonial card is met even by Colonial standards.
Oh no, David Priesta came in extra hot.
Arlington Heights should be sunny. Yeah, it's gonna be beautiful here as usual. But yeah, race 8. Yeah, this is going to be I think a tough race because it's going to depend on who's going to be scratching out of here. We're going to be going 5.5 furlongs on the turf here, yeah, I mean, like, let's kind of take a look here. Who has run in the last week? No Balls ran 6 days ago. So that means Coppola and Bear River also ran 6 days ago there. Who else is in here 6 days ago? Was it just those three?
It's those three, but those are three pretty significant players in this race.
Yeah.
And I think it's fair to be skeptical of both the 5 Izzy Vungu Vungu and the number 11 Nothing Better. I mean, it isn't like they couldn't wheel back on 2.5 weeks rest, whatever they're coming up on here. But yeah, like Nothing Better has no published works since that last race. Neither does Izzy Vungu Vungu. They might run, but I wouldn't be shocked if one or both also scratch. But the other three we mentioned, No Balls and Coppola and Bear River, I think are very, very likely to scratch.
Well, I got bad news because if Issy Vungu Vungu scratches, I'm going to be in trouble because that's the horse I've been wanting. I want to bet back here. The second time shipping back over here. I think, I don't know. This is a horse that debuted at Colonial at a stakes race. I think it was either this race or the race that was carded before and won a pretty nice race there against Nothing Better. In this spot and got a 1:15 time for him. And I thought him coming back to Colonial, I thought he made a ton of sense in this spot. They named Johnny Velasquez aboard for that one. I, of course, bet him in that stupid Monmouth Stakes race like an idiot, and he ran up the track. But, second time back in the U.S. Is usually when I like to bet them. But unfortunately, with all those other scratches, I mean... I have a hard time like wanting to use a horse like Whitty. I know he won that nice Pimlico Stakes race, but that's a race that he was able to close in on. And I don't know, with all those scratches, I feel like there's not going to be much speed in this race. I mean, if the 9 scratches, the 11 and the 12 scratch, I mean, and No Ball scratches, I don't think there's going to be enough pace for Whitty. So who does that kind of leave? Maybe like the 7, Mr. As your possible speed. I'm not really sure. I think the scratches are going to be kind of mess this up. But hopefully Issy Vunga Vunga runs because I think that with those other scratches, he looks to stand out to me here, especially second time shipping back over here from the Middle East. Caleb, what did you kind of think?
Yeah, I mean, if we operate under the assumption that the horses coming out of the Wolf Hill are going to run back, they're the top 2 in this race. I mean, Nothing Better and Izzy Vungu Vungu are the top 2 choices in here, and I think they'll be short. I mean, I think they will be, 9-5 and 5-2 or something to that effect. The thing is, on bet class, they both fit, right? But they just don't seem to be as good this year. I mean, Izzy Vungu Vungu spent most of his career in South Africa. He had a nice flash in the pan race at Colonial, and then honestly ran a lot better than it looked in the Breeders' Cup, because he had some trouble that Mark can tell you all about later. But he's kind of stunk ever since then. I mean, that's like the one race that was fast, and then he's essentially regressed. And it isn't like he regressed in difficult races. I mean, the turf dash at Tampa. I mean, okay, maybe you give him a pass on the Maydan race, but then he comes back at Monmouth, and I just find myself making a lot of excuses for this horse that already showed that he can fire off of a ship and off of a layoff, when he won a race here last year. So for me, I mean, I think I'm just a little skeptical of him. A horse like Nothing Better, I think, I like a little bit more. He also, disappointed in that race last out at Monmouth. And the Elusive Quality was actually, a terrible race by his standards. But, you get Saez on board here, and with all the scratches, I do think this is your controlling speed. And I do agree with you, Josh, in that I think the scratches do make it tough for a horse like Whitty, who with a fairly run race would be probably the most likely winner of the race. This is a horse with just a crazy late kick, but really does need a setup. And if we get the expected scratches of like a No Balls and Bear River and Coppola, I just don't know that the pace really sets up for him. So I think that really helps a horse like Nothing Better, who should get the lead in here pending scratches. The only other one I want to talk about who might be somewhat of a price is the horse out there in the parking lot. So I need the value pack of pudding for today to get 2 Castellano horses home. But number 13 Horsepower. This is a horse that's actually like sneaky fast. That last race, at Presque Isle did not come back quickly, but you figure he did beat No Balls that day, and No Balls came back to improve his figure by about 10 points. So it's fair to think that, that Presque Isle fig might be a little on the light side compared to, what the form would suggest. When you look at his 3 turf races before that, they're all kind of in the middle teens on time form. And that includes his race 2 back at Aqueduct and the Elusive Quality, where he did have some pretty significant trouble, missed the break, didn't get the trip that he really likes. Just really got a poor ride that day. But he drops back into 5 furlongs where he's, 7 for 8 or 5/5.5, where he's 7 for 8 in the exacta. He's, got a win and a second place from 2 starts at Colonial. Does need to save a little bit of ground from that trip because he's not fast enough to get the lead, but he certainly doesn't want to be behind Whitty either. So he does got to work out a bit of a trip in here, but he's the one that I think the 4-year-old that's kind of getting good at the right time might be the new shooter in the event that Nothing Better and Izzy Vungu Vungu are just kind of lost a step or two compared to last year.
I'm not going to wax poetically about this race. There are so many expected scratches. I literally have no clue who's even running. I will agree. I was 4, 5, and 11 in here, and if all 3 of those are going to scratch, I have absolutely no clue where I'm going to end up landing. I will say, I went back through because I didn't realize how many were likely to scratch. So, as you guys have been talking, I've been doing a little bit deeper looking, again, and Caleb brought up Horsepower. Now, the thing is, if the horses we're thinking are going to scratch, Horsepower is probably your second choice in here. At I don't know, whatever, 7-2, 9-2, something like that kind of a range. And that's probably where I would land on the 13, assuming half the field scratches. But the problem I have is I have no clue who's scratching, and I have no clue what the pace dynamics look like. And I would wait till the day of the race, recap it, just because when you're expecting that many, it just so changes the dynamics of a race like this that it's just very, very hard for me to get my hands around.
Anything else here? All right, let's take a look at some of the comments here. Marco Lou, he guesses he's on Whitty, so he doesn't care about the scratches. He thinks Whitty's going to be it. Brandon likes the 6 Step Forward, which isn't the horse that we talked about. Mark Cassie's been hot, and he's shipping this horse over. You guys look at the 6 at all?
Yeah, if you believe that the last 2 efforts, and you sort of had this argument that the horse took a big step forward going 5 to 6, the last 2 have definitely been trending in the right direction. And you're gonna need another little step forward again off the last race, but if that happens, yeah, the horse is a player here. And again, especially if half the field scratches, yeah, definitely a major player if that's the case.
Yeah, I looked at him, I did. But Twisted Filgry came back to run pretty poorly and regressed last weekend without much of an apparent excuse. And that's kind of the race that you're hinging your bet on if you're looking at this horse. Unless you want to go way back to some of the races from like last summer. So for me, I'm just not sure, but the price will probably be fair enough, and he does figure to be forward in a race that has an uncertain pace complexion given the scratches. So I don't hate it, but he's probably not for me.
Anything else in this race? All right. Here come the 3 graded stakes races on the card. We're going to start with the 3-year-old Secretariat, grade 2 here, going a mile on the turf. Your morning line favorite in this race is going to be the 8 Dream On. You get 7-2 on Maui Strong, 9-2 on Cairo Caper, 6-1 on Giocoso, 5-1 on End of Romance, 8-1 on Simulate. You get double digits on the rest in this one. Mark, I'll let you go first. Where did you land here?
Josh, I hope you're going to go first just so you could tell us how much you love Maui Strong in this race, but I'll leave Maui Strong up to you. And again, this is another race I had a really, really tough time at. I think there is no pace in this race, or very little pace given the fact that it's a turf mile. And so, there's a bunch of these horses that I think are going to be shorter priced that just are not going to get the kind of setups that they need. And so I kind of wanted to look for somebody who could kind of make his own trip. And Josh is probably gonna need the Castellano Simp Alert again. I just landed on Dream On, a horse that I don't think needs a massive pace setup, can kind of sit 3rd or 4th in here, and can kind of get first run if as Maui Strong kind of decides to fade late. So I landed on Dream On, nothing creative, but I could see going a million other ways in here. I don't have a ton of other creative things to say so in this race, so I'm hopefully Caleb has some interesting deep thoughts here.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do in this race. Dream On's not for me. I will say that I like the fact that it apparently, this feels like a very intentional spotting for this horse. And I mean, I say it all the time. I like a horse that's, pointed toward a race, not kind of shifted there as an afterthought. I mean, this horse has 3 works at Colonial. They seem to be quick. It seems like, Mark Cassidy and company kind of know what they have. And it's not really a legitimate, grade 2, grade 1 kind of a horse, but it's a Penn Mile kind of a horse. It's a Columbia Tampa kind of a horse. It's it's that kind of a horse. It's a grade 3, maybe grade 2 at a B tier, C tier track. So I think the spotting is very clever here. But my problem with him is just I think he's going to get overbet based off the last fig. And I just don't believe any of the numbers that come out of Penn National. I see those races are constantly too fast. When you have horses that occasionally will ship into Parks, which are also too fast, and then New York or wherever else. So I mean, that's kind of the race that you're banking on if you're taking this horse as the chalk. And I just don't believe it. The turf course was an absolute just monsoon swamp that day. They timed those races with the sundial. I just don't believe the number. So his back form still gives him a chance, but to take him at 5-2, I would need that last number to be real, and I'm just not convinced. I do kind of agree with Mark that there's not a lot of speed in here, but I don't think it's like as pace devoid as he might, suggest. I just think it's kind of a murky pace scenario because you have a lot of horses who at some point have showed speed, but are, far from need the lead. So you just don't know how it's going to set up. Maui Strong is probably your leader. Romans has probably scratched this horse 2 or 3 times from other spots. So we'll see, I guess, if he actually runs here. I mean, my guess is this is the intended, spot for this horse. And I think it's a clever, spotting. I think the race fits him here. But I was just a little more interested in a horse, a little to his outside. Bill Mott, you did me dirty today with a couple of the runners. You did Mark dirty. But I'm on board today with number 4, Simulate. This is a horse that obviously needed debut, didn't pick up his feet in that race. Got away with murder at Saratoga to wire that race, but did beat a really good field, with States Rights, who's come back to be a nice horse. Warlander's been a nice horse. Flying Mohawk was in that race. You've had a couple of horses that came out of that Saratoga maiden to run, go on to be pretty nice. Clearly, probably just needed to start off the layoff last time at Delaware. I don't know why this horse was at Delaware, but that says probably, again, a little bit what Bill Mott thinks about this horse, and that's why he's here and he's not, at Saratoga or somewhere else. But then his last race was a big step forward. I mean, it was at Saratoga. He tracked the pace. He's, very tactical. Pulled off the upset. Was certainly not expected to run that race, but it's a horse that's improved by about 10 to 12 points in every single start. And I'm not expecting a 10 to 12 point move forward in this race, but all he needs is about 2 points and he'll be the fastest horse in the race. He's already pretty close, depending what you think of some other figs. So I just think this is a very progressive type who is getting good at the right time. Junior ships in, and 8-1, I think, is more than fair. So I'll be on Simulate here to work out his own trip in a race that's a little bit suspect to me.
Mark, did you write a little note down about the Mott Whisperer?
Yeah,
like in the 4?
Yeah, I took a note down that this is a live Mott but Caleb did me dirty, I think twice today, because in the second race he loved the Mott, who then decided to get an epic case of the hangs, and then in the quote unquote feature race, the Mott decides to show up, who he didn't even bother to mention. So has he lost his touch?
I tried to get him taken down for you, but the stewards they weren't listening.
Yeah, man, if that would have been the takedown of the century for me.
So Caleb, my only question on the 4, any concern to the 2 little L's here next to the last 2 races where we saw some market improvement?
No, because I mean these 2 races are a year later. I mean you can't compare a June and July 2-year-old figure versus a 3-year-old figure in June and July. I mean LASIK is always a question, but this horse won a race off of LASIK with a figure that's fast enough to win a race at that at a 2-year-old maiden race at Saratoga. So I don't think this is a horse that's like contingent on LASIKs or anything. It is a question, but it's not one I'm afraid of.
Yeah, this is This was kind of a tough race, right? Dream On, if you look at Beyer, looks like a horse that peaked really, really early as a 2-year-old and has been chasing that figure ever since. Now, obviously, they gave that summer a 90 Beyer figure, which is just absolutely insane for a 2-year-old turf route. That race must have probably has to get split out, or there's just something wrong, because this is a horse that's been consistently running in like the mid to high 70s. So on Beyer, the 8 doesn't look like all that much of a standout, and I think you can kind of make a case for a lot of other horses, but I am going to kind of agree with you, Caleb. I really like the 4 Simulate. This is a lightly raced horse that seems to just be improving consistently. And like I said, my only real question mark is that last out figure, very, very strong, fits in with the rest of this field. On Beyer, it looks really, really good. But that was, a race that was on LASIK. So how much do we, how much this is a horse that broke its maiden off of LASIKs, right? And routing. So maybe doesn't necessarily need it and just used it because it wasn't in the stakes race. But, I wasn't too sure what to make of it, but, hopefully we get a fair price on this horse and we get to find out. I think the 8 can win this race. But I mean, I hate the price. I think that this is a horse, like I said, that last figure, it was a bog at Penn National. Beyer, that race looks a lot slower on Beyer than it does on other figures. So you kind of got to figure what you're going to do with that. But I have him as a use in this spot. Maybe they got the Costco size snack. What do they call them? Snack packs? Maybe they got the
Yes,
Costco size ones there. Vanilla and chocolate going. But one horse you guys didn't talk about that I am going to use is the 1 Giocoso. This is a horse that has improved in his 3 starts as a 3-year-old. They tried the Risen Star. That was a bad idea. Then they ran him in the Jeff Ruby Stakes and obviously kind of ran back to, I think, the ability that we could kind of see from that horse in his 2-year-old season, and then came back in the American Turf, and I thought he ran a good race there, right? He ran 5th by 4 lengths, right? And there are no Zulu Kingdoms. There's no test scores. There's no new centuries in this race. I think he's going to have a much softer group to run against in this spot. And I think this is a horse that maybe is just improving at the right time. Has got a nice 3-month layoff here. Is going to be coming into this race fresh and gets turf god Ben Curtis aboard, right? So we saw Ben Curtis ride the Keeneland turf very, very well. So why not here at Colonial? And yeah, I think he's got some figs that fit in here, and I think you're going to get a decent price. So unfortunately, Mark, I am not using the 2 Maui Strong, even though he's probably going to be the loosest horse in the history of all loose horses. But I am going to use the 1 Jocoso. I'm going to use the 4 Simulate, and I'm going to use the 8 Dream On. Anything else in this race you guys want to talk about?
I agree about the 1, just for the record. I'm using 2 horses and A's, and that's my other one. That's my other A.
I have the
Maui Strong is my lone B, so I'm 1-4 over 2 basically. I think the Maui Strong hate's a little bit too far here. I mean, I'm surprised Josh isn't on this horse.
I left it up for Josh because I have the horse written down as an A, and I figured Josh was going to wax poetically about the cheapest of cheap speed, and but then he didn't. I'm okay.
I mean,
Josh coming over a new leaf.
So, but here's the thing:
give him new handicapping products.
Here's the thing, right? Here's the thing, right? So he's literally only led in 1 race, right? I get it, right? Like, I just don't know.
That's like 1 more than anybody else in this field.
I mean, yeah, I guess, but. I mean, like Simulate has shown some tactical speed, right? When he's been able to get the lead, I mean, he went to the front, I think Antisocial has shown some speed.
Really aggressive, yeah.
And it's got Louis Saez aboard, right?
Yep.
I think if I was going to take a shot with like someone to go wire to wire, maybe I'd take a shot with the 5 at kind of a price here. And I mean, even Dream On, like I said, like he led the juvenile turf, right? But it's not like he's been like way off of it, right? So I just don't think that. I don't know. I just don't think that this is a time I kind of disagree with time form on paper, because I kind of feel like that race at Churchill Downs where you got the early pace figures of 144 and 146. I kind of feel like those are doing a lot of the heavy lifting in the overall early pace number, but I could be wrong. I mean, maybe this horse just goes wire to wire. I look like an idiot. The Josh Gius of Josh horses wins, and then Mark gets to be like, I can't believe you didn't have that horse. That's Mark's favorite words in the English language. I can't believe you didn't have this horse, or I had that horse as an A. So, but. I don't know. Maybe it. Yeah. I mean, Cobb's even saying, "Why aren't you using Maui Strong?" But Cobb's on Simulate. He says Simulate looks good. And he says sounds like we won't be getting 8-1 on him. So, Marco Lou likes the 8 here. PDT is just saying Dale Tar, so I'm guessing he is also he's not on the 8. He's on the
2.
He's on the 2 Maui Strong. Yeah. So. Anything else here on this race? Let's move on to the Beverly D. Man, how far this race has fallen, huh? This is now a grade 2. And we only got 6 horses here. And your morning line favorite is going to be the 2 Be Your Best. You get 3-1 on Duvet Day. You get 7-2 on Charlene's Dream. 4-1 on Beach Bomb, 92 on Spanish Eyes, and 15-1 on Chick's Shadow. Hey, I see something longer than a mile on the turf. That means I got to go to my man Caleb first, because he loves these turf routes. Where did you land here, Caleb?
Yeah, I mean, I like this race, even though I think it's a bit tricky from a handicapping perspective. I want 0 part of Be Your Best in this. I have no idea why this horse is 9-5. I mean, she won the softest grade 1 of all time in the Gamely. West Coast turf grade 1s are like East Coast turf grade 3s. So, that's why Chad ships over like the C string and usually wins, around Christmas time every year. That's just a sorry race. I don't think the horse wants to go this far. And I know if you dig back, she kind of has that one random win at 1 3/8, but I've just never thought this was a horse that wants to go, anything really much over a mile 1 1/8, maybe pushing it. But 1 3/16, where, I don't like Be Your Best at all. I think it's too far. I think the pace setup does not work for her. There are probably 2 other horses that are quicker than her out of the gate, immediately to her outside, which are really going to compromise her chances in here. And if you're just looking at the time form figures, she's too slow. I mean, there are 2 other horses that are faster than her and 2 other horses that are, one other horse that's about as fast as her anyway. And you're telling me she'll be 9 to 5. I don't know if that's just a bad morning line or I'm going to make some value if I'm right, but I don't like Be Your Best in here. I'm going with the horse to her immediate outside, Beach Bomb. Not sure that we're going to get 4 to 1 on this horse, but I think she's probably the horse that's probably should be your favorite. I thought she's just really consistent. I mean, never missed the exacta in her 4 starts this year. And she took a big step forward last out at Saratoga when just barely losing to She Feels Pretty. Now, that was a pretty big top for the 5-year-old mare. So it is a little fair to be concerned about, whether that came from, the yielding turf or, is she going to regress a little bit off that? But I don't think it's inherently a bad figure because we've seen She Feels Pretty consistently show up with these mid 120s time form figures. And she exited that race to run, a figure that, was 3 points slower in defeat. So, that figure looks pretty legitimate. I think Beach Bomb just took a big step forward that day for, whatever reason, whether it was the yielding turf or, maybe the slight cutback in distance, but I think she's, much the horse to beat in here. I don't think she's a true need to lead, although with Saya's up, I do expect some aggressive tactics. But she did kind of sit off the pace in that last race in the New York. I thought she was, she wasn't rating unkindly, even though she was just, a length or so off the pace. She's my top pick in here. I think there's a couple other ways you could go, but my main opinion is that I want lots of Beach Bomb and none of Be Your Best.
Mark, I'll go next because I'm going to split Caleb's opinion here. I think there's only 2 horses that can win this race. One of them is Beach Bomb. The other one is Be Your Best. So, as he rolls his eyes, I think if you believe time form at all, Beach Bomb is easily the horse to beat here, and it's probably actually my top pick in this race. I think game theory and ticket construction probably tells you that you just don't use the 2 then at all in that case. If you think a longer price is the more likely winner, but I don't know, man. Be Your Best just seems to be a win machine, right? You kind of cross the line through that Jenny Wiley, or you toss out the Jenny Wiley, and this is a horse that's rattled off 4 wins in 5 starts. I don't know. I just think this is a horse that's in good form. It's a horse that likes to win. Very tactical type, can go wire to wire or can sit just off. I can't tell if Mark just is seeing the most interesting thing in the world in front of him or if he's frozen again. He's frozen again. Okay. I was going to say he was just I just think that the 2 and the 3 look to be the most likely winners. I think the 3 is the horse to beat in this spot. So I wouldn't be surprised if like you said, the 3 maybe goes off closer to 2 to 1, 5 to 2, and maybe is your lukewarm favorite, or they both kind of end up around 5 to 2. But I do like Be Your Best in the spot. Caleb already rolled his eyes at me, so I'll let Mark speak now. Mark, where did you land?
Yeah, there's only one horse that can win this race, and it's neither of the 2 horses that you 2 have been loving on. So, shockingly, Josh is going to need his banner again. Straight up, Be Your Best is just simply not fast enough to win this race. I realize she does like to win, but she just isn't as fast as other horses in here. And if you're betting Beach Bomb, you're betting Beach Bomb off from one race, and that's that New York. And I have no idea where that figure came from. I agree with Caleb. I think the figure itself is legitimate, but I think that's a figure that horse was probably very moved up by the very soft going there. And that means if you're looking for a horse and you're saying, geez, I need a horse that can run in those 120-ish time forms, Charlene's Dream is your horse, and that's the only horse that you can. I think you just single Charlene's Dream in this race. She's run 3 figures in a row that are faster than anybody else has run in this race. She's run mid 120s in her last 3 efforts, and that's just faster than everybody else in this race. I think you single her and you move on. There's other races in this sequence I want to spread. I just need one horse here.
You want to go first or me, Caleb?
You can go ahead.
I'm going to channel my inner Caleb. If you like Charlene's Dream, doesn't that mean you have to like the 6 Duvet Day as well?
I like Duvet's Day more than I like Be Your Best.
I mean, fair enough. Caleb, you want to beat him up? I got the JJ Sim thing going already. So,
I mean, I don't think there's enough pudding in the state of Virginia to get Castellano 3 wins on the card. So, yeah, I struggle a little bit. Mark's points are all valid. I can't really argue with Mark, to be honest with you, because yes, I mean, if you're just looking at the figures, those last 3 races are all very fast, but I'm always a little bit skeptical of like these big figures and losing races. And this is a horse that has 5 wins, but they all kind of came at like not great tracks. I mean, Indiana Grand, Pimlico, then a couple at Golden Gate. I mean, I'm a little bit skeptical. Like the run backs all kind of check out, I guess. But I mean, are you telling me that, like that last race, it was a listed stakes at Churchill and she runs a 122, which is, arguably the fastest fig in this race and every bit good enough to win a grade 2 at Saratoga, and she's run 3 figures that fast. I mean, if this horse was this good, it just feels like she'd be somewhere better. And maybe it's the purse money. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, I don't disagree with Mark and, on terms of the figures. It's just, I don't know that I have no reason looking at run backs to doubt the figs. It's just the body of work that she has and the figs that she's getting in defeat. I'm just a little bit unsure. Josh, did you look at the buyers? I'm kind of curious how they stack up because I know that a horse like this tends to get flattered on time form given the early running style.
I mean, honestly, on Bayer, the 3 looks like an absolute standout because it ran 100 last time, and that's the fastest fig in the field by 2 points.
But if you're looking at the buyers, I definitely see why Be Your Best is close to a 9 to 5 in this field because her last 4 were all mid 90s or better, which are probably what it takes to win this race. So I mean, again, a race where you get a big discrepancy in time form and buyer, and with a horse like Charlene's Dream and even Beach Bomb for that matter, who early running styles are rewarded on time form. So you got to decide how much you really credit you want to give to that, because Charlene's Dream is not fast enough to win on the buyer scale in this race. So it is interesting. Like I said, I'm 3 is low an A, and the 4 is probably going to be a B for me. Might drop to a C. Duvet Day, I wasn't sure what to do with, to Josh's earlier point. She really needs a setup, clearly. Doesn't win a ton of races, but always kind of shows up. In a world where the 2, 3, and 4 all hook up, I want all of Duvet Day. But in a world where one of those 3 sit, which I think is likely, I just don't know that they're going to go truly that fast for a horse like Duvet Day to get the trip she needs. So I think she's just a cut below. And yeah, she did finish ahead of, Charlene's Dream in one of those races, but I think she was just kind of picking up the pieces in a race that fell apart.
My big issue with Charlene's Dream, and maybe I'm getting too meta here, maybe I'm getting too Caleb, but I see 3 humongous figures, right? Caleb, the 3 figures the 3 big figures are Pimlico Turf, Churchill Downs Turf, Churchill Downs Turf, which are probably outside of Kentucky Downs. Kentucky Downs, Pimlico, and Churchill Downs Turf, those 3 are like I don't even know like how to describe them, but they are like the unicorns where they just the figures that come out of those races, I swear, are just like they have to either be tough or it's just horses either like that track or hate it, right? So I I still think that the Churchill Downs turf, and I was talking on Louis' show earlier about this. I still think the Churchill Downs turf is still kind of a bit of an anomaly, right? Even a couple of years removed from the actual chunks of turf just flying the entire meet. So I just have a hard time trusting a horse whose figures are coming from that. I mean, it'd be kind of the same thing like a horse shipping up that's gone wire to wire on the on the Gulfstream Park turf every single time. Like that thing's concrete, right? It's tough to kind of I think equate that over, but I don't know, that was that, at least when I saw those figures and I saw that they were coming from those tracks, I started questioning them a little bit, and then when I kind of looked at how Beyer had kind of split them out, I don't know, I kind of tossed those races. I thought that maybe they were a little too fast, but like that's a great thing, right? That's the great thing about when numbers kind of disagree, right? That's I think where you really get value. I always meme, right, that if you want to know who the Maury line favorite is, just look who ran the fastest out Beyer last time out, right? And yeah, everyone looks at Beyer. That's why I tend to like looking at time form, because when they do end up with discrepancies, that's like where you can make money. Same thing with Brisnet, right? Every once in a while, you see this horse that ran this like huge Brisnet figure. Like, I'm not saying that you bet every huge Brisnet figure, but pay attention. Look at that. Look at what the horse is going off at, what the Beyer is, and I think when you see those discrepancies, that's kind of where you can make some money. So, but yeah, in this case, I just think that those figures are probably a little questionable, but I could be wrong.
No, I agree with you, Josh. I mean, I agree with you about those 3 tracks in particular. I think all the points you made are very valid. And usually I'll try to validate figures on runbacks, but that almost doesn't work when you look at a track like Churchill, because horses just tend to run at that circuit over and over again. So, when time form uses kind of the projection method when they make their figures, and if a horse ran a 123 and won last time and they won this time, they're going to get a figure that's in the ballpark of 123, 125, 121, whatever, unless the final time was completely different. Like, so you tend to get a repeating pattern of kind of bogus figs. So, I do think you make some good points there.
Cobb saying, feels like value at these tracks comes from some 20-1 horse ridden by a local jockey. Sometimes you get that kind of stuff, especially like on Monmouth or Pennsylvania Derby Day. I think sometimes
we saw that a lot on the
like
Pimlico undercard this year. We saw a ton of local jocks getting home some huge prices.
Yeah. Nick saying, why Charlesian Stream figs are so high. I'm guessing he was. How long ago?
He asked that well before you two waxed poetically.
Oh, okay. All right. Nick is bringing up the 5. I think the 5 is really the only horse that we didn't talk about. That's kind of in the realm of probably likely candidates to win this race. That's Spanish Eyes. Did either of you guys look at this horse?
I tried to make the argument. I just think she has to get a lot faster, and I don't think the price is going to be there. I mean, I know she had some trouble in her debut, and then hard for me to really, you can say maybe the Delaware race should be faster. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I couldn't find an argument to make to how she's going to run 10 to 15 points faster at 9-2. So for me, I just couldn't get there.
Same.
It's not like she's coming out of world beating races in Germany either. So,
however, if for some reason we do get the rain dance, this might be a horse that you definitely could use if they end up running on yielding or soft type ground. If you look back, it's got at least a couple of really good races on yielding and good ground. So it might be one that maybe if we get a cut in the ground might be worth a look. But I think the price, you'll have to get a price on it. Definitely not 9-2.
I think Nick's right though. I think the price will float up. I think you'll get 8-1, 10-1 on that horse.
Yeah. Nick saying to watch the replay of the Delaware races. The races came from way off. So that's a Caleb note if I've ever heard one.
Yeah.
Anything else here in this race? All right. So back to a grade 1 Arlington Million, home of probably the greatest race call ever heard. Trying to see if that would get a reaction. The market did. Yeah, your morning line favorite in
Is that the
this race.
Pizza Man?
Yeah,
It had
the
to be the Pizza Man, right?
Yeah. 8-5 on Integration, 7-2 on Cairo, 9-2 on Mystic Dan, or 4-1 on Fort Washington, 8-1 on Grand Sonata, double digits on the rest. Caleb, I have a feeling that you and I are going to be on the same horse in this race. Because
I think so,
I feel like it's a horse that you and I have been banging the drum on all year. And I think we've only got this horse in the winner's circle once, maybe twice. But I'm going back to the number 6.
That's right.
Fort Washington. Yeah, I mean, I think that this horse is, he's ran a couple of really, really nice races this year so far. And I just think he's going to kind of prevent a little bit of value in this race. Integration, 8-5 on the morning line, has run a couple of really nice races, but he's just not been able to get across it. Get across the finish line first. And I don't know, like, I have a hard time taking a short price on a horse that has just not been able to kind of get over the edge there. And it's 5 years old at this point. I mean, this is really, like, this is probably a race that this horse should win, right? I just have a feeling with the results, what I've seen from this horse the last couple times out, I don't know. I have a really, really hard time trusting this horse in this spot. So I'm gonna have a fade on Integration. I got Fort Washington as my lone A in this spot. I think horses I think Cairo obviously is interesting shipping in here. It's also interesting that you're getting Ben Curtis as the guy you call to ride your European shipper. But hey, maybe that turf god status is real. And obviously, I think Grand Sonata interesting in this spot. But it seems like I think PDT says that this horse is running here. I thought this horse is interesting, but this is another one that hasn't won in a long time. But I think you can kind of forgive that when you're getting 8-1 versus 8-5 on a horse. So, but I got the 6 Fort Washington as my top pick. I think this is a really, really nice horse. Junior has ridden this horse really well. I think he's not necessarily gotten the easiest of pace setups in those races, and I think I think you'll get a little bit of pace in this race. I'm not saying that you're going to get some kind of like this thing's going to melt down, but I don't think that we're going to be looking at this race, a month after when these horses are running back and seeing blue fractions on this race either. So I at least think that Fort Washington's going to get a fair shake in the spot, and I like him in this spot. Caleb, where did you land?
Yeah, so for once, I'll split the difference this time. You already know that I like Fort Washington, probably my top pick in here. 4-1's great value. This horse hates Churchill. He's raced there twice. Both times were not. You could just tell he's not the same horse. He doesn't get over the surface quite as well as he does at other tracks. So I'm not going to be too critical of his Wise Dan, especially when you had some major horse for courses in that race, like Brilliant Birdie, who's like 4 for 5 or 5 for 6 at Churchill or something like that. So this is a horse. He's a bit tough to ride sometimes, but when he's on, he's really, really good. I think this 1.25 miles, it's a bit new for him, but I've seen him handle, a mile in, an eighth just fine. So I'm not too worried about the stretch out here. He's always coming with a head full of steam. So I don't have any doubts about this horse getting the distance here. It is my top pick. Where I'll kind of differ from you is I think it's really hard to get away from Integration completely in here. I respect the stand against. I mean, if there's someone who likes to throw out favorites, it's usually me. But this is the kind of junky race Integration probably wins. Colonial is a track where he has like 3 of his 5 wins. He's 3 for 4 lifetime there with 1 second place. He ran a really good race in the Manhattan. I mean, we talked about that earlier in the context of Farbridge when we talked about the Sword Dancer at Saratoga. But, looking back at that race, even now that race came back very strong. deterministic, came back to win the 4-star day. Farbridge, won again and is a pretty formidable favorite in the Sword Dancer on Saturday. And this horse split those two runners. He always shows up. I mean, his figures are, some of the most consistent I've ever seen. I mean, looking at time form, as far back as my page goes, he's run between a 121 and a 127. Most of those figures are good enough to win this race. It's just a matter of getting the job done, which, to your point, I understand he hasn't won a lot of the times. It's kind of felt like he should recently, but he's coming out of, a lot of grade ones that were, considerably tougher than this. This is a track he's proven to like. I just do think he's in here pretty well meant, and he's one I'm not going to try super hard to beat, although I do think he'll be a short price. So for me, I mean, I'll be 6 and 8. I'm hoping Mystic Dan takes a bunch of money because he'll be the takeout reducer of the race. But yeah, for me, it's 6 and 8.
Yeah, I think the note on integration is the fact that if Nation's Pride doesn't run in this race last year, he's 4 for 4 at Colonial. He just sort of loves this place. I don't know why, but whatever. It seems to suit him very, very well. And so I think taking the stand against integration is very, very, very tough to do in this spot. Obviously, he likes this trip. He likes this track. So he's my top pick. But again, I'm eating chalk there, so nothing super creative to say. The only other horse I think I need in this race is a horse that it has not won in quite a while, and that's the 5-horse Cairo for Alice Haynes. She is very much trainer-wise. If you've never heard of her, she's sort of an up-and-coming trainer in England. She's been doing, and she also obviously does ship as well. She had her first Breeders' Cup starter last year. So, she's kind of a, I find it very interesting to see that she shipped this one over. I don't necessarily know the reason. I don't know if there's some sort of planned barn change or they're planning an American campaign for this one, but I thought Cairo in this spot was pretty darn interesting. Again, playing that sort of angle that, when you see these, Euro shippers come over, you normally see that sort of 8 or 10 point, improvement. If this horse improves 10 points off that last fig, is actually faster than integration at that point. So it would give you that sort of 129, 125 sort of range. And it could just be the case of this horse, hasn't gotten it done. And they may just be looking for a softer company. Has been campaigned very aggressively, running at a lot of the big Ascot races, a lot of the bigger, some bigger stake stuff. So maybe this is a little bit of class relief, and see if this one sort of manages it. So I like Cairo pretty much, quite a lot in here. And I really think I just need kind of Cairo and integration in this spot, and I'll let everybody else beat me. And to your guys' point, I like Mystic Dan quite a lot as a horse. This is just sort of we've run out of ideas, so let's just throw a dart at the wall kind of a thing. And Ken McPeak does this on occasion. He'll take these sort of shots. And I think it's Harvey Peck that said this, and a little homage to our good friend Andrew Champagne, but never been a horse doing something for the first time. So Mystic Dan, first time on turf, I will let him beat me.
Yeah, it just feels like a money grab, right? I mean,
yeah,
like these are connections that won the Derby. And like, if you told me name the softest grade 1 in the country, or the softest $1 million race in the country, this has to be on the short list, right? I mean,
well, I
maybe thinking you can just ship in, steal, $500,000 purse.
I think there's also the argument of, if you want to send him to stud, if you can go, oh, he is a turf threat too, all of a sudden he becomes that much more valuable as a sire. There's effectively zero downside for them running in this race and 1,000,000 times upside, because they can play that game of, oh, well, he's a turf sire now and whatever. So,
yeah, but as a handicapper, I mean, a Kentucky Derby winner trying turf for the first time in his 15th career start is like what you dream of to get value on your other horses.
Exactly. Yeah, he is the quintessential takeout reducer in this spot.
Yeah, I'm like, when I see Golden Sense, I don't necessarily think turf routing, but apparently he's above average. He's 13%. I think the average is 11%. But
the bottom is all dirt pretty much.
Yeah. The bottom doesn't have any turf starts at all. So, interesting. I just don't like it. Nick is Mystic Dan going to be anything as a stud? Feels like he has no breeding potential.
He'll
I
get
don't
a
know.
deal. He'll get a deal somewhere, and it may be, he'll stand in. Who knows where, Indiana or something crazy, but Oklahoma, one of those kind of things. But somebody will give him a shot. He's won too many big races. He's cashed way too many checks for somebody not to at least give him a chance at stud.
Yeah, but like when I think of Grade 1 winners on two surfaces, I think Catholic Boy. I mean, Catholic Boy, I don't even think is really all. He's 6,000. He stands for $6,000. And he's a dual surface Grade 1 winner. So I mean, I don't know. I think it's just Kenny being Kenny. I mean, well, who was that? Remember he won
sent
the
Classic Causeway to Ascot. Remember?
yeah.
Like, yeah, this just feels curious.
Oh, David saying, on the wrong lead, notorious Mystic Dan haters.
I mean, with the exception of the first Saturday in May last year, we've been pretty right about that.
No, tis the bomb. I did see Ed had a real good comment the other day where he said like the only way I could have been more wrong on the Whitney is if Tis the Bomb ran in it. And I sent that over. I sent that over to my friends in Louisville, who one of who when I met him, he just went on this big yeah, I mean jokingly how he doesn't like Ed DeRosa because he went to a seminar of his and it was the year that Tis the Bomb was running in the Derby. And he loved Tis the Bomb, so he got all hyped up over Tis the Bomb and obviously lost. So we were going to Churchill Downs that night. I was like, should I call Ed and see if he can come? And talk to our buddy. He's like, yeah. Unfortunately, Ed couldn't make it out that night. He said he would have loved to come, but
you were saying dual surface G1 winners, and I thought you were going to say Yoshida just so you could get me to rage quit.
Dude, I forgot about Yoshida. I just thought about Catholic Boy because I know he did it I think he did it at 3, right? Both of them.
Could have been. I mean,
the Travers and something else. Yeah.
Yeah, he won. He kept on beating up that Chad Brown horse. Remember?
Yeah, the one that would pass him and then get repassed.
Yeah, I just could never. He could never beat him.
The Chad Brown hate goes deep in here. You guys don't even remember the horse's name, what races or anything else. I just remember
the Catholic Boy had his number.
Yeah,
I think it started with an A for some reason.
Dave Barista mentioned Grand Sonata. Did you guys give him a look?
Yeah, I thought to me he was similar to Fort Washington. He was a horse that I thought needed to take a little bit of a step forward. Not saying he couldn't, but again, a little bit of an outsider looking in, and I would like him a lot better with an even mildly competent jock up.
I think he's interesting in here because I see him the same, but the thing is I see him the same as Integration. Right, as a horse that just it seems like he's had run the good figures, but has had a trouble kind of crossing the line first. The only difference is that you're getting 8-1 instead of 8-5 on him. I just feel like he, from a value perspective, is a much better bet I think than Integration.
If that's your take, I don't hate that.
Okay, I'm getting on my soapbox here. You want to know why I really don't like Integration?
Nobody asked, but go on.
Mark, do you know why I don't like Integration? No. Who was the jockey last year in the Arlington Million?
Was it Frankie? No, Kendrick?
Yep. Who is no longer riding this horse? I hate when guys do this, right? Kendrick rode this horse 3 times, or rode this horse a couple times in a row, and they just yanked him off for no reason. Then they put him back on, and they take him off again. Like, come on, man. Stick with Kendrick. Let Kendrick cash a couple checks, man. When's it going to be Kendrick's turn? Besides Aqueduct.
I mean, I agree with you in principle. I think they should. I don't like to see that either. Especially take him off, put Brad up. Horse goes and wins the Red Smith at Aqueduct or whatever. Yeah, I mean, I agree.
I mean, like I said, integration can win. I just think from a value perspective, I'm going to try and get around him. I think the six, and I like the 6. I like the 7 a little bit, and obviously the 5 makes a ton of sense. So, yeah, David saying seems like the price disqualifies him in this spot. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't think that I don't think that there's 5 times the price difference between Grant Sonata integration. So we'll see. We'll see we'll see what it looks like. But yeah, I agree with you guys on Mystic Dan. I don't see it. There's no turf pedigree in there, and I just think, he's having a laugh, which is great. I mean, it's his horse. Like, he can do what he wants, and I mean, the horse has really got. I don't really think he's got much else to do, right? Hopefully, they keep running this horse on dirt. I think he can be a nice hard knocking older horse, but obviously we don't have many of those anymore.
The problem with him is, what do they do with him? Because he's not as good as the best in that older division. He's sort of that second tier in that older division. So what risk do you run him in? You're playing duck and cover, and you're avoiding the White Abarios of the world, right? Or the Sierra Leones, or all of those other horses.
I got 4 letters for you. You know who that horse turns into? NEXT.
He can't go that far. He doesn't have that kind of a pedigree.
Who are you talking about?
Mr. Dan, dude, just send that horse 3 turns. Just send that horse.
Send him a
turns.
half a turn. He's got a better chance sprinting than he does
Send
marathon.
that horse 3 turns.
Josh has had like 20 terrible takes, and that's the worst one of them all.
Oh, send that horse 3 turns, dude. He would
3 turns at
destroy those
Charlestown,
horses.
maybe.
Oh man. Hey, Skippy Longstocking for like half a second had me a little bit worried last week because he made this middle move, and I was like, "Oh my God, is Skippy Longstocking gonna boom everybody?" And then he remembered that he remembered who he was. But
Well, he also remembered he hates Saratoga. But
anything else on this card or this weekend's races? Mark, why are you laughing?
Nick.
Oh, he's more likely to go Los Al 870 yards than 1.5.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's a soft division. I'm just saying, like, I'm just saying, what's more likely?
The older horse division is some of the best older horse division you've had in the past 20 years.
I'm talking about the older marathon division.
Yeah, did you see Parchment Party or whatever? Next would have beat that field by 30 if he was running.
He would have. Yes, that's
but
true.
that doesn't mean Mystic Dan can go out there and do that. I mean, he probably can't even beat Krupe.
Oh, I don't know. I would take a Mystic Dan over Krupe.
At a mile and a half?
Sure, I would take that. I would take that. Anything else here, guys? All right. Well, that's going to do it for us. Obviously, check us out at ontherwronglead.com, at wrong_lead on Twitter. I am at Cherry Drank. Caleb's at Caleb WVU. Mark is at 2 Turns. Big shout out to everybody in the chat. Nick Sievers, Marco, David Barista, Mark Capitan. Who cares about that guy? I see Brandon, Cobb, PDT was in there. Who else? CB for you to win. Lots of love in chat, guys. Appreciate everybody. Have a good weekend. Let's make some money.